Well, here we are. It's the last unit to review. So go to page 84 in your spiral. So this is stuff that we did second semester, I believe. So this should hopefully some of this be fresh in your brain. So the symbol for the inverse functions is f with the -1 as an exponent of x. So remember that's just the notation for inverse. The one-to-one relationship is that it passes the horizontal line test. The point relationship is that if you have the function f of x and the point xy is on the graph, its inverse, you switch x and y, so it's y comma x, so the values trade places. The domain and range is the same thing. We switch domain and range. Let me actually write this differently. In class, sometimes I would do this. You'd have your domain, you'd have your f of x function, your inverse function, domain range. This would become the range, and this one would be this function's domain. Composition of functions, the function, if you compose f of g of x, and you get x, and also g of f of x, and get x, that proves that they're inverses. And the last thing, make sure that you notice if you were to graph a function and its inverse, it would be symmetric across the line y equals x. So that's the line that goes to the origin and has a slope of 1. So our steps to find an inverse why that's cut off is first you're going to check to see if it's 1-to-1. If it's not, then you'll make your domain restriction. So for example, a circle would not be a function, so we'd have to make a domain restriction. We're going to change it so that's y equals and not f of x. And then what we're going to do is we're going to switch x and y. We're going to solve for y. And then we're going to change to the notation. We're going to change the y to our inverse notation. And then what you do is you check it by graphing, and you graph and make sure that a function and its inverse would be a reflection across the line, y equals x. Okay, top of page 85, I want you to go to example B. We're going to graph the square root of x minus 1, and then we're going to graph its inverse. So if we're looking at the function, the square root of x minus 1, we know that the domain has to be greater than or equal to 0, not the domain, the x values. So if we solve this, we get x minus 1 is greater than or equal to 0, so x has to be greater than or equal to 1. So if we're looking at the table for the function f of x, we would start with the x values of 1, and 1 minus 1 is 0, and the square root of 0 is 0. And then we could do 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. The square root of 1 is 1. And then let's try to think of something that's the square root of 4. So let's do 5, because we want nice numbers. 5 minus 1 is 4. The square root of 4 is 2. So we see that if we were to plot this, it'd be 1, 0, 2, 1, and 5, 2. Okay, that's your f of x function. So to do the inverse, it's just switched. So 0, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 5. So I'm going to graph that one. So 0, 1, 1, 2, and 2, 5. If we were to graph the line, y equals x, notice they look like they're a reflection across that line. The question also wants us to find the inverse algebraically. So our steps are change to y, Then switch x and y and solve for y. We need to state the domain of both functions. So I'm going to do the domain of the first one and the range of the first one, the original function. So it's bracket 1 to infinity. And the range is bracket 0 to infinity. So if we just switch it, the domain of this function should be 0 to infinity. Whoops, not with a double parenthesis. And then the other one should be bracket 1 to infinity. Okay, I want you to flip to page 90. We need to review a formula. We have our compound interest formula and what these different pieces mean. So for your A value, that is your ending balance. Your P is your principal, which is the starting value or initial value. The R is the rate, which is your percent. The N is the number of times you compound per year. And T is the time in years. So just jot this formula down so that you have it handy and you can keep referencing it. And then let's review the different values for what yearly means, semi-annually, quarterly, and monthly. So yearly is 1 time a year, semi-annual is twice a year, quarterly is 4, and monthly is 12. I think in class we talked about if it was weekly, it's 52, and then daily, 365. Okay, looking at page 91, I want you to notice the continuously compounded formula. It's right here in the middle. So jot that in. Your P is your principal. The E is the number E, 2.7183 on your calculator. And then the R is the rate and the T is the time. So we're going to look at example 9 and then we'll do example 10. So suppose you invested $12,000 in a fund that yields 3.8 compounded continuously. So that'd be 12,000 e to the 0.038 times 25. And we just type that into our calculator and we get $31,028.52. So when you look at the next one we're comparing an investment using compound interest semi-annually and then continuously compounded. So we're gonna have to do this twice. So our principal is $3,000. Your time is 10. The rate is 0.065. The N is semi-annually, which would be 2. On the other one, it'd be P is still 3,000. It's still over 10 years. And then your rate is 0.06 or 6%. So now we use our formulas. 3,000, 1 plus 0.065 over 2 to the 2 times 10 power. That's going to give us $5,687.51. Using our PE to the RT, 3,000 e to the 0.06 times 10, that gives us $5,466.36. So the question asks which one is greater. This one is greater.